I'm going to read a couple of poems. The first one is about the London riots of 2011. I was in London the previous summer, and one of the things that really struck me was the all the video surveillance they have and a fat lot of good that did them. It's known as closed circuit television or CCTV. So here we go. Can't contain the violence. It had long lain latent, but when that bullet dug in, it opened wide a fracture, and the rest is history devouring itself. A bedlam of burning buildings, the chaos of autos aflame. Riot, 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 riot. No bouquet hurling hoodlums here. The city slammed in the aftermath, buried beneath a ton of bricks like deja vu, Brixton 81. A people on the brink spill over. Kept under constant surveillance like children not to be trusted, it wore them down until they rose up. To stab out the true London eye amidst an inferno that raged for days but had been smoldering for years, like fury held back by a trembling lip. Finally unleashed, it seemed all were consumed, consuming all they could, clamoring to claim their prize, insisting that it was time for them to pay, the government, the wealthy, the corrupt, everybody but us. Those days the world watched as the violence in London ran over. The city beneath the gaze of a robotic voyeur, the flames witness to this panoptic failure, as order like water between their fingers slips, undoused they watch the blaze rise. Leaping over sprinkled glass into stores, through the windows they shattered to unclog the doors. More, 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 more. Their unspoken cry permeates like a spore, infecting an already wounded creature, the long maligned poor. Through cloud of smoke they trip, the hand clutching what from the shelf it pries. But for unrest and hate there is no cure, together they are an unrivaled destroyer. Watch as they scar the city, leaving it sore and writhing in a calamitous seizure. Incensed they send up a terrible roar. This is what happens when you don't believe in justice anymore, when it's time to sink the so-called majestic ship, when terror reigns and order dies. For the lash now hold the whip, it won't slip from their grip. Through the air it will rip, and into the streets blood by the leader will drip, through grates in the gutters gurgling in the gore as fire storms and bullets soar, until the click of the empty clip. Exhausted, the fury spent, down it lies. Dormant now, but sure once more to arise, and when it does, take us again by surprise, as we marvel at its size. We could learn from it this, if we were wise. If peace and happiness you wish to ensure, it must not be an imposed order in which you set store. For no matter how rigid the structure, you can't contain the violence. And this next one is a bit of a work in progress, but I figure I would read it. It's called A Bong Rip in the Space-Time Continuum. Reality had been walled in, that wall was torn asunder, meant to stand forever. How it came to be cleaved by smoke as it vanished, I cannot tell. But now time was spilling through the rip, or was it then? Perhaps later? Meanwhile, maybe, at the very least, at some point, the size and shape of things was expanding and contracting. My wristwatch undid itself and crawled away. A glass of water shrunk and contorted, twisting into a prism. Only the curtain created by the rip remained unchanged. All else was flux, and chaos proceeded to fill the room. My cry of surprise mingled with it, transforming into the sound of a twig snapping. The once smooth and white ceiling became a maze of bumps and spikes with beams of colored light bouncing between them. I watched helplessly as a shoelace became a pair of wings and my shoe flew through the rip I created, to land on the other side in the hand of a stupefied man sitting on a stoop, streaming with sunlight. Framed by that mid-air tear, he sat there, a bead of sweat dripping from his eyebrow to the corner of his mouth. A voice in my head said, "Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain." I looked at him and knew he had heard it too. Each in our own universe sought the speaker, neither of us knowing that it wasn't for the first time. I spoke to him but cannot know what he heard. His response was the ticka-ticka-ticka of a sprinkler, as it goes from left to right, and then the machine gun rat-a-tat-a once it reaches its end and turns back. Soon tears filled his eyes at the sight of the life he could never have. Thank you.